Everybody's worried about the battery health assistance feature on the Pixel 10 phones. I've been seeing doom and gloom stuff from Google is taking control of your battery and they're reducing how much battery you're going to get. They're lowering your charging speeds, all these different terrible things that I think are a little more excitement induced than an actual depiction of reality. So I want to try and analyze this and discuss it in this video. I've had so many people that are like, "Oh, Google's going to cap my battery after 200 charges and all sorts of other stuff." And I don't think that's necessarily the case. So what this started really because there have been problems with some of the batteries, particularly the Pixel 9a. There were some problems with it. There were also some problems with the Pixel 6a battery, and they put in this thing where it was going to start lowering the voltage that it charged at and the charging speed, or sorry, the wattage. It's the wattage, yeah. Reduce wattage on the battery at like 200 charges, and then it was going to go down, I guess, control that gradually till it got to 1,000 charges. Whatever. Everybody's battery usage is different, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion in here about how the principles of battery charging actually work, because I think that better understands the picture. So I will read this verbatim, and I asked Google. I said, Google, what is Google's battery health assistance feature? It says it's a software feature in Pixel phones designed to extend battery lifespan by gradually adjusting the battery's maximum voltage and charging speeds after 200 cycles up to 1,000 cycles. Now, this draws from different articles that unfortunately are written by people who are preaching doom and gloom about this as opposed to actually asking Google. It pulls from Yahoo Tech, it pulls from Android Authority, it pulls from Google Help. So we'll go straight to Google Help, and I think that's the best way to look at it. So battery health assistance feature, you couldn't see that because it was a white blur, but here it is from Google. Battery health assistance feature. This feature is available on Pixel 6a and later. On Pixel 9a, the feature is on by default and can't be turned off. That's also applicable to the Pixel 10 phones. It is a automatic feature you cannot turn off. Now you cannot opt in for this. So lithium-ion batteries are consumable components that eventually require replacement. As your battery ages, Battery Health Assistant helps manage its long-term health and performance. The software adjusts the battery's maximum voltage in stages. It starts at 200 charging cycles and continues gradually until 1,000. This helps stabilize battery performance and aging. As your battery ages, you may notice small decreases in your battery's runtime. Based on adjusted capacity, Battery Health Assistance also tunes the phone's charging speed. You may notice a slight change in battery charging performance. So the whole goal of this is to manage the degradation of your battery. Your battery will degrade regardless. So for instance, my battery on my iPhone 16 Pro Max is a little over 400 charges, and I'm at like 93% battery health. That's a lot. That's pretty extreme because most people don't do a full charge. A charging cycle is from 1 to 100. It doesn't mean your phone got to 20% and then you charged it to 100. That's not a full charging cycle. That's only 80% of the charging cycle. Every time you fully charge, like it's not, a charging cycle doesn't mean from 1 to 100. It just means that equivalent amount of the battery. So if you've charged to 100%, like so 80% and 20% or whatever, then that's one charge cycle, okay? So every time you charge your battery, it loses a little bit of its life, whether that's like 0.1%, 0.002%, whatever that rate is. It depends on the battery. It depends on the voltage. It depends on the maximum amount of milliamps. It depends on charging rate, all sorts of different things. There's a lot of variables. Your battery, from the day that it starts working, it is dying. It's just like a human being. Like we have a finite amount of lifespan, right? We start off, we're born, maybe some of us make it to 100, some of us make it to 30, some of us make it to 80. Like you just don't know. And it's very similar with the battery in a phone. Every time you charge it, it loses a little bit of its life. So that's one of the reasons why they have these options with a lot of phones, especially even like Google phones. You can limit the charging to 80%. It's recommended. It's recommended with Teslas and other EVs because that 80% is that magic number where it doesn't stretch the battery too much. I was reading a Google article. I was actually reading an explanation, and it says every time you charge your battery over 80%, it's like taking a rubber band and then you stretch it to its maximum stretch capacity, and then as it slows down, like that elasticity comes in and out of it. So if you stretch a rubber band to its maximum over and over and over, it loses its elasticity faster. And the same principle with batteries. If you charge them to 100% every time you do it, it loses that storage capacity because you're basically just jamming as much power in there as you can. So with the battery health assistance feature, basically what's happening is it's not so much that it's limiting your battery. You're limiting your battery capacity every time you charge it. You're just not noticing it. And unless you look at the battery health over time, very much like what Apple does with theirs, where I can see, okay, I can't charge to 100% anymore. It'll say the battery's 100% charged because what that means is the battery at its current capacity is charged to 100%. Not that you can't charge, like, it's not the same 100% as when you first started. So right now, 100% battery charge for me on my iPhone is actually like 93% of what the original battery life is. So what Google, my understanding is doing with this by managing the wattage and managing the charging rate in an adaptive way. Like it takes a look at it and goes, okay, we're gonna charge it and we're gonna knock a little bit off of it. Which, okay, maybe what that means is, okay, instead it starts off charging at 30, then it drops to 20, then it drops to 10. Okay, maybe it drops a little bit, but what that does is it helps preserve your overall battery life, and it manages the dying process of your battery, so to speak. Like it does it in a more controlled and healthy manner, so that way it extends the battery life in a meaningful way over time. Now, is that going to be significantly better than what it was already? I don't know, but if we use some AI and we use some of Google's actual expertise in this department, I don't have a big problem with it because I think in the end run, we're going to see better overall battery health results. And this wasn't a problem before. And one of the reasons why they do it now, as they didn't do it before, people are like, oh, it's mandatory now. Well, your phones weren't supposed to last for 7 years before. If you take a look at a Pixel 6, that phone is not guaranteed for 7 years. It goes to 5, and they extended it to 5. It was originally going to get, 3 years of operating system updates and 5 years of security patches. Now it gets 5 and 5. So the Pixel 10 is supposed to last 7 years. So one of the ways to get to 7 years, and this has been a question that I've had for a long time, is like, I'm fairly certain the phone in its current state will function decently in 7 years. But the battery is a problem, right? How long is the battery going to last? So if we can control the battery health and keep it healthier longer by going this route, it's not something where they're saying, hey, your battery is going to be capped anyway. Like your battery is, like I said, every time you charge it, it dies a little bit. And every time you charge it over 80%, it dies a little bit faster. So that's why it's not good. So if you want to slow this process down even more, then don't charge your phone over 80%. Leave it at that 80% mark and say don't charge over this. But beyond that, I don't think this is a bad thing. I think that it's being spun out of control because people don't understand how batteries work. So it's doing exactly what the battery is doing already. It's just doing it in a smarter, more efficient, and healthier way. So I don't see this as being a bad problem. I don't see this as being something that's like, oh my gosh, we're limiting the battery. It's going to cap it at this. Like your battery cap goes down every time you charge it. It's just doing it in a smarter way, and it basically starts to kick in after 200 charge cycles, which is, for most people, a little less than a year, probably. Maybe about 7 to 8 months. Most normal people might hit about 200 charge cycles. For power users like me, you're going to hit it in probably about 6 to 8 months. With 6 or 7 months, maybe a normal person might hit it, I don't know, maybe 10 months, maybe a year. It just depends on how often you do that full charge cycle. And 200 full charge cycles, again, is not 200 times you charge it. It's 200 times that you actually got to 100% of a charge, i.e. 60% today, 40% tomorrow, not just straight from 1 to 100%. So I hope that this maybe sheds a little bit more light on it. I think understanding the process of what battery charging is, because the battery charging is something that's controlled by the phone already. I mean, if you take a look at it, some people are like, oh yeah, it says it charges at 30 watts, but the effective charging rate is like 12 watts. And you're like, well, why is that? Well, The problem is as you charge your battery higher and higher, it gets more resistance because you're stuffing more battery power and there's just not as much room left to do it. It's just cramming it to capacity. So it's just like whenever you stretch a rubber band. When you stretch a rubber band, it's very easy at first. And then as it gets further and further as its maximum stretch point, it gets harder and harder and harder. You get more resistance. The same thing with the battery cell. So you're stretching and stretching those cells. So that's why you can charge with quick charge from 0 to 50% in 30 minutes. But then you're like, okay, from 50% to 100 takes an hour. You're like, why does it take twice as long? Or why does it take even longer than that? It's because of the amount of resistance. You have to control the heat. You have to control all that other stuff. And that extra stretching and extra charging process as you get closer and closer to 100% is what's causing more damage to the battery. So the Google Battery Health Assistance, again, yes, you will get reduced maximum capacity, but that happens every time you charge your battery anyway. It's a natural process of the battery. So yes, over time, what it's going to do is it will adjust that charging speed. It may get a little lower, which you may or may not notice too much, because if you charge it overnight anyway, like I do, you'll never notice. And then the battery health, it's just going to manage. It's going to manage that. It's going to manage that rate of decay on your battery. So I don't think this is bad. I think it's fine. And hopefully I explain this in an articulate and an effective way so you can understand the process of what the battery's doing and how what Google is doing is controlling the process to try and extend your battery life. So I don't think it's bad. I could be wrong. Somebody definitely sound off in the comments. If I'm wrong on something, then let me know, because I don't want to give people bad information. But this is what I got from digesting this over the last couple of days, reading articles, reading what Google says, asking and talking to Gemini, looking at different things. So this is the conclusion I came up with. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, please, of course, go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.